I bought this wrecked Land Rover Defender for my wife, and the cost of rebuilding it is already more than I paid for it. Chassis, £3,000. New bulkhead, £1,400. So the question is, will it be worth it? I've just picked up another Land Rover Defender, and this time it was to surprise my wife. Let's just say she wasn't exactly pleased about it, but the truck itself isn't in the best state either. Now, you might have seen on the channel, I've just finished a Defender 110 pickup build, where I had a lot of the heavy lifting done for me by the guys over at Bromley County Defenders. But this one's going to be different. I'm taking it on in my own garage, learning as I go and doing as much as I can myself. I've never done this before, but it's going to be a build worth watching. The floors in the Defender, particularly the footwells, weren't looking too great, and this is the passenger side. This actually came out pretty easily. However, underneath you can start to see a little bit of corrosion, but nothing too much. The driver's side was a whole different story. I imagine this is because the driver, whoever it was, going on the beach patrol, which is what this vehicle was used for at Canterbury City Council, was getting in and out with salt water and everything else. These bolts were an absolute nightmare to get out, and I had to get the angle grinder out to take most of them out. If anyone's done this before, you'll know it's not the easiest job getting the angle grinder into those areas. But once we'd done that, this did lift out okay and really showed me exactly what was going on with that bulkhead and the footwell where it's rotted out completely in that top left corner. Chassis, however, wasn't looking too bad at this stage. Next, we're moving on to doing the arches and taking these front wings off. I took the tyres off both the sides in the end to actually get access to it and started working on the wheel arches, again needing the grinder a few times to get things sorted. So taking the front wing off now, I've done that side, but now taking this side off. I believe this one is a little bit more tricky. There's a few more screws and bolts to get out here, and I think a lot of stuff is also connected to this, so we're going to have to get that off. But then once this front wing's off, we're definitely getting there with the strip down. I've taken both wheels off, and that's mainly just for access to get into the arches. After that, I've got seat box, rear tub to get out, but definitely getting there now. I'm starting to see the chassis a bit more and see what we're dealing with in a bit more detail. Stupidly, I bought this car without even looking at it. But if you're buying your next car, make sure you check out your car with Car Vertical to make sure what you're buying is truly what you see. Car Vertical is a vehicle checking website where it gives you all the information about the vehicle. Take a look at this Defender. It was completely smashed up and repaired, and if you're buying it new, you would never have any idea. You can use my code DOCTOR to get 20% off your next vehicle check. Head down to the link in the description and make sure you check your next car before you buy. Front wings are now off, and it is sitting on those axle stands just there. And you can really take a good look now at everything that's going on in this Defender, and take a really good look at the bulkhead as well, which, to be honest, there are a few bits that are a bit crusty. You can see here. Probably does need cutting out and patching up for us to keep this, or just get a new bulkhead because you've got that rotten bit under there as well. So yeah, the bulkhead's not in a really bad way, but it's definitely got some corrosion in some parts. But actually the chassis, when you look at it from here, doesn't look that bad, at least from the outside. It feels pretty solid, and around the front as well, feels pretty solid generally. So it's hard to know what to do with this, because I think you could probably keep this chassis. I think you could probably replace the rear cross member on it. But if I'm going to do so much work to this and, you know, respray the body, get loads of new parts for it, it always feels like a bit of a waste to leave something that you know is going to go and something you know is going to rot underneath. And so I think I probably will end up doing this chassis, because I think it's worth it when you're doing that. And having done it to this Defender right here and have this brand new chassis that just looks so nice underneath, I'm kind of tempted to do the same with this. So that's going to be the plan. But yeah, taking this side off was definitely easier. Having taken the left wing off, doing the right was easier because I just knew what I was doing and knew where the bolts were. As a job, not actually that difficult, not as difficult as I thought it would be, but I'm slowly getting more out of my depth now doing this. There were some lines here, so for the radiator, the bonnet pull cable that I had to disconnect, and some other bits and bobs. But I have been doing something when I've been doing this, which I think I'd recommend definitely if you're going to be thinking of the same job. And that is to keep all of your bits in bags. And this is something that Ryan at Bromley County Defenders recommended, and something that also one of my friends that works on Defenders a lot said, is keep everything in bags so you know exactly where they are, what you've got. And I think that's just a really useful thing to do when this is my first time doing this. So I just got a load of freezer bags off Amazon and Sharpie pens. I'm just literally been putting everything together, like left wing arch front, left wing to bulkhead. And then also wiring too is something that stresses me out and I'm a bit worried about, because We haven't got into too much wiring yet, but these are the wiring looms for the front wings. And again, I've labeled them, so like left side light. Probably a little bit too much, but you can never be too cautious with this. I want to make sure I can get it back together again when I'm building it back up. Other things to consider on this and things that I want to do to this Defender while it's in this state. Well, the first thing is probably a new intercooler and radiator. It's a bit bashed in a few places, and when it's like this, it's so easy to replace these things. And I think that's one of the things I'm learning after doing the starter motor on that last week, how difficult it was to get that top nut out. You can see the starter motor just there. It's so much easier when it's in this state. So I think it's worth doing anything at this point. And if you guys have got any recommendations of things that you would just change while it's like this, even if they're not worn out, like the starter motor, for example, I'll probably just do it at this stage, because then when I build it all back up, I'm not going to have problems like I did with my 110 last week. So let me know in the comments below, stuff that you'd replace at this point. What would that be? I'm going to give you guys a bit of a tour around here so you can see what you maybe would replace on this, looking at it. Bulkhead on this side, again, not too bad. These are the wiring looms here, and I started actually when I first started doing this labeling all of them like AA, so AA goes to AA, AB goes to AB. This is maybe a bit basic because actually these are here and they obviously go into the wing, but I wanted to do it anyway, so I'm just over cautious with that at this point. Taking the footwell out, of course. Now we've got to do seat box, and I think we do seat box first and then get onto the rear tub, and that's where you can really see the chassis. But I think the seat box is going to be the next thing to do. This middle seat is an absolute nightmare to get out because you can't get down into there, and then you have to have someone go underneath really to hold that to get those nuts out. But overall, I'm pleased with the progress. Got a lot further than I thought I would get. It's things like the steering rods here. Again, great time to be able to access these and sort these out if I need to. But generally for this car, considering its life that it's had, I don't actually think it's as bad as I thought it was going to be. For the price I paid for it, which is about £7,000, I think it's actually not in bad condition. And obviously it needs a few bits doing. Springs, shocks are definitely going to need to be done. And I'm just deciding what to go for on this, for this Defender. One option that I have looked at, which I looked at previously on my Keswick Green 90, was having lowering springs on it. So having the Defender sit a little lower, just because they ride a lot better generally. And interesting, after speaking to the guys that are live tuning at LRO, they also said when Defenders have been on springs and shocks like this for the last 20 years, they're probably already lowered. This probably already sits at a height which would be classed as lowered. When you put them on brand new springs, they sit quite a lot higher than even what your standard springs would be. I also think this thing generally just needs a good jet wash throughout, just to clean everything off so I can see exactly what I'm working with. But yeah, that's where we are at the moment, and it's all coming together very nicely. So let's put the wheels back on this. Let's take it outside here, and I'm going to give it a jet wash, clean it off before I put it back in the garage and carry on with the strip down. It's all washed, it's all sorted now, and this was the job I've been looking forward to the least, which is sorting out the electrics, particularly when taking the seat box out. You've got to take the ECU out, and I'm realising you've got to take the fuse box out as well, and basically dismantle the fuse box. So taking a lot of pictures as I do this, make sure I know where everything goes, and trying to get all those wires back through the seat box so I can look at removing it. Not sure how difficult that's going to be at this point. Some of these bolts through the seat box where the seatbelt brackets are held are pretty difficult to get to. You kind of need someone to help to go underneath to hold the nut while someone turns the bolt on top, and in some cases had to get the grinder out again to take some of these out. I have literally no idea how this is going to go back together, but I'm sure we're going to find out. So the seat box is now out. That was a much bigger job than I thought it was going to be to get out. Really quite difficult actually. Now on this seat box, there's some bits that don't look so good. This is on the driver's side, you can see completely corroded out on there. What would you guys do about that? Obviously you can get new seat boxes. I think you can get separate panels for the seat boxes, but let me know where you guys would go for that. Again, some bits there, obviously some damage from my angle grinder as well, but it's quite superficial. And just, yeah, it's really corroded out on this driver's side, which is interesting because on the passenger side, it's actually not too bad at all. It doesn't look too bad on this side. And I think that's just because this was driven a lot by one person probably when it worked for the council, going up and down patrolling the sea line, and so they were jumping in and out there with salty wet water. What things look like in the vehicle now. So seat box is out, and it's a great opportunity to take a look at everything that we've got going on here, including that damage to the bulkhead, which you can see a little bit clearer now than what you could in the previous video. So rotten out there, and the whole section there's gone, just really kind of falling apart in some of these areas. here, so a little bit crusty, and you can just see in some areas as well it's just not looking so good. When I look at the rest of things and look at the chassis from here, chassis doesn't look particularly bad compared to what the rear crossmember looks like. So whatever they put on this as a protective coating has worked quite well, because this is still quite solid throughout all of this. So I'm really getting there with the Defender now. I've taken the seat box out, both front wings are off, and you can really take a good look now inside the vehicle. You can see the chassis, you can see the gearbox, and you can also see all the electronics. And probably my biggest fear is dealing with this, which is the fuse box I've taken apart, the ECU I've taken out, and as you can see, I've labelled everything as well as I can, but I'm still a bit concerned as to how I'm going to put this back together. I've made a list of approximate costings for this Defender so far. Let me talk you through them. New doors, £1,000. New bulkhead, £1,400. Chassis, £3,000. Seat box, £600. Footwells, £200. And all of the extras I'm going to need to do to the bodywork, £1,000. Now, a lot of you have been commenting saying, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do this yourself? And the reality is, with Defender ownership, there is a lot you can do yourself. There's a lot you can pay other people to do yourself. And I've come up with this graph that helps explain that a little bit clearer. So here is my graph on Defender repairs. And essentially what it shows is low cost things take a long time, high cost things take less time. And so I could pay someone to do all of the work on my Defender, and that would be very expensive, but it would also be much, much quicker. Similarly, I could do everything myself completely from scratch, and that would be very cheap to do, but it also would take a long, long time to do. Now, the key for me, and when I'm putting this together, what I'm thinking of is I have a relatively limited amount of time to be able to work on my Defender and do stuff, but I also want to give it a go myself, and I don't have unlimited funds to do it. So for me, I want to be somewhere around here. So yes, I'm going to do some of this myself, but I've also got to be prepared to pay for some of it myself. On my Defender 110 that's right next to this 90 here, that vehicle, I pretty much paid to have it done completely. Didn't do a lot myself, and it's turned out to be an absolutely amazing build. But on this one, I'm much more determined to really get stuck into it myself for learning, document it here on YouTube for you guys, but also to bring the cost down of the project. Because as you can see, it's already looking quite expensive. I have a brand new chassis being delivered for this Defender in the next couple of days, and this time I'm going to be giving it a go all by myself. It's the first time I will have done this, but from what I've understood, how hard can it be? We're soon going to find out on the channel. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.